Hi, you guys. Welcome to another episode of Breakthrough with me, your host, Timmons. Have you ever wanted to go and see the Rose Bowl parade? Well, have I got some information for you. Today, I went and saw the making of some of the floats for the Rose Bowl parade. So I want to give you some tips and tricks in case you are in the area of Pasadena, California. You can go onto the rest of my YouTube reels and you'll be able to see a lot of the images that I'm talking about right now. So first I went to the Rose Bowl Parade website, and then also I went to their Instagram website to research some of the events. I had no idea that the Rose Bowl football game and parade had so many other events around it. There's a Lululemon 5K run, there's some DJ night, there are 3 or 4 nights where you can go and see the floats being made, there's the judging of the floats, there is the battle of the marching bands, there's also the football game, and so much more. So today is December 30th, and I went this morning to go see how some of the floats were made. These events are December 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. I chose the 30th on purpose because the Rose Bowl Float Parade is on January 1st, New Year's Day. So I wanted to get closer to then because I wanted to see the actual flowers being put on the floats. So I went online and I bought a ticket. It was $20. And from where I live, it takes about an hour to drive up there. So when you're choosing a ticket for the floats, they start at 9, 10 o'clock. Then there's a 10 to 11, 11 to 12, and it runs all the way down to about 5 o'clock. If you're in line at 5 o'clock, you still get to go, even if the time runs out, right? And if it's past 5 and you're still not inside, don't worry about it. You're in line, you're okay. So some cool other things about learning about all of this process. There's one gentleman who designs a majority of the floats, and he worked for Disney at the very beginning, and he was one of the animators for the original Lion King movie, and then he started making all of the floats for the parade. So he works with 2 different companies, and then those companies design the floats, and so the state of Louisiana, if they want to float in the parade, they will contact his company. All of this will be in the show notes, and then they will design the float together. So he'll give maybe 5 different mock drawings of the floats, and then they'll narrow it down to that one float. But he actually generates and designs all of the floats. Now there's about 80 some different groups that are in the parade, but that includes marching bands, etc. But as far as floats, the number is more than 20, but not 80 for sure. With the event that I went to, I thought I was only going to see 4 or 5 floats, but I ended up seeing about 12, which is cool. So when you are going to the event, I signed up to go to the 11 o'clock, and I'm so glad that I did. Now, in hindsight, could I have done the 9 or the 10? Sure. And the 11 was just fine. But when I came out after I went in, the line for the floats was huge. And I know that those people are going to be waiting in line 2 to 3 hours, especially if you have little kids. Keep in mind, you might want to go earlier. So when you drive up for the event, first I paid the $21 to go. There's just not a lot of money. And it also offers free parking for me. A lot of other people were dropped off with Ubers, a couple that I met from Colorado, that were in line with me. They just had their Uber drop them off. And there were also people in line from Mississippi, Alabama, Wisconsin. It was pretty cool to meet so many different people. As I was driving up, my parking lot was parking lot I. I wasn't exactly sure, so I simply unrolled my window and asked a lot of the workers because they're waving everyone and giving directions, right? So it's very easy to figure out where you're supposed to go. So the parking was free, and I just had to remember where I parked. And you're cutting across some of the baseball fields and whatnot, and everything is very coned off. As I was driving up that route on Holly Street, I was able to see The grandstands were already put up. The porta potties were starting to be set out. Lots of cones were off to the side, but getting ready to be marked off on all of the different neighborhoods. And the media stations were not only set up as far as the tents, but the media vans are already there. 30th, 31st, 1st, that's 3 days away, and the media vans are already there. There's food trucks everywhere, drink stations everywhere, but you can also bring your own food as well. When I was in line, there was a bit of intermittent rain, so I did bring an umbrella. You're supposed to bring a clear bag. I had my purse, but it was the certain diameter of size, so it didn't matter. And I had a water bottle in there, my wallet, my phone, and also my umbrella. So that worked out pretty well. I wore this jacket just in case it was cold, but I didn't need to have a jacket on and tons of layers. I showed up at 10:30 in line, met everyone in line around me, and we were in line until I'd say noon. And then we were finally able to get in. So when you go in, I will say I was disappointed at first because you're up on a plank above all of the floats, and due to safety and regulations, they no longer let you go down and directly talk to the people who are working on the floats. I thought I would be able to interview them, talk with them. I was really, really hoping I would be able to put a flower onto the float, but not so. And that's okay, because next year, oh yes, I'm volunteering. So when you're up on the planked area above, it's very safe. There's railings and everything. Behind you are pictures of every single float and what the end production will look like. And then in front of you are the floats, and they're about 3 back. And then they keep going across in the building. So if you have a good zoom on your camera, you're able to see further out, and you're able to watch everything. Now, I chose December 30th on purpose because I wanted to see when they were putting the flowers on, which is today is the first day that they're actually laying the flowers. They want to make sure that they stay fresh. So here's a couple fascinating things. All of the roses this year for the Rose Parade have been shipped in from Ecuador. I had no idea. A lot of the flowers that they're using, such as lavender, etc., are from California. They start gathering them in Southern California, go all the way up past Monterey into Northern California. And there's a video on the Instagram for the Rose Parade that shows a lot of the farmers and how the flowers were made, and all of the production and all of the people, and all of this goodness that goes into the entire production of these floats. And when I was inside, I was able to watch and see how they were gluing either a petal or an entire bud of a flower, or sometimes just the leaf onto the floats. They're using flower glue. It has been raining intermittently here, and they said that if it rains on the floats, that glue will not be destroyed, that it won't get sticky, it won't come off. Also, with the rain, it can actually help a lot of the floats because they're made of all living things. So if it does rain, it's not going to destroy the floats, and some flowers will even be thirsty for it. The roses, when they're put onto the floats, they still have that little tube full of water, and that you'd see if you buy a bouquet of them, and they are placed onto the float, and so they are still alive as they are standing on the float. What's cool about that is today you get to watch the making of the floats. Tomorrow on the 31st is the judging of all of the floats, and then after the parade on the 1st, there's 3 days where the floats are set out and you can go and walk and see them. So the flowers live for so long. What else was incredible is while I was in line, this woman walked by with this placard, and on that placard she had samples of many of the items that are used to make the floats, such as beans, corn, flowers, and coffee. So anything on the float all has to be alive. There's no sand or purple dye. It has to be real. So there are a lot of mixing bowls and mixers that they're using, because if they have purple beans, they grind them up and then they use the ground bean or coffee bean or, like like an edible bean, they use those onto the floats. So they'll paint with a paintbrush glue, and then they'll take a scoop of the ground up bean or the ground up coffee bean, and then they layer it onto the float. So in one of the floats, there's an indigenous woman with her hands splayed out, and she has all of this gorgeous like winged production. At first it looked like sand, but as I looked over to my left, there are gigantic tubs full of light coffee beans, and they ground those and then layered that on her. Can you imagine the smells of the roses and the coffee beans and just how beautiful that would be? I was still a little too far away to be able to enjoy that scent, but that's okay. All right, so next, when you are in line and you go inside, you can take video, you can take pictures. They do want the line to keep moving. However, other people are going to move faster and other people are going to move slower. So if a group in front of you is going too slow, feel free to skip around. I would say a lot of the men were like, cool, and then ready to move on. Whereas a lot of older women like me were like, wanting to stay and look at every single thing. So you have the ability to move kind of at your own pace. As we were looking at the different floats, a few of the people that are making the floats can hear you, so they can talk with you a little bit and answer a question, but a lot of them, they might have earbuds in and they're busy working. But there are people up where we're walking and viewing that can answer a lot of the questions for you. You also can see that there are some volunteers that are working on like the ground level of the floats. There's some volunteers that are working on the signs for the floats. And then there's some volunteers who don't mind height. And so they're up on some rafting components. There are some metal infrastructures that are standing tall that people are working on. And there's also just wooden planks that are layered together that they're sitting on. You have to understand your balance and understand that you feel secure enough to do that. So if you volunteer, just really understand if you're able to do that kind of thing with height. Okay, so if you want to volunteer, of course, I researched all of this while I was there for you and me. There's 2 companies that you can volunteer with, and I'll put the names of those companies in my show notes. In June and July, you start looking into signing up to be a volunteer. There's cities like Torrance and Beverly Hills that have their own floats. So they start making those floats in their own cities, and it's done by the city of Torrance, the city of Beverly Hills. And then later they move those floats over to the area that I was in Pasadena, where they're creating the floats, which is just right across from the RoseBowl stadium. And then there's others that, like the city of Louisiana has purchased a float to be in the parade, but then they hire these 2 companies that are in Pasadena to make their float for them. Now, the gentleman who is making those floats, he is formerly from Disneyland, and he was an animator of the first cartoon, The Lion King. And from there, he moved into creating floats. And so he will design each and every float that you see. There's over 25 floats, right? So he will go through like 5 different spec drawings, and then the city of Louisiana and him will decide on, here's the float. And there's always a theme every year. This year's theme, I didn't know what it was. And by the end of my time exhibiting all of the creation of the floats, I was really like rejoicing in the fact that I was seeing a lot of people coming together in creation and celebration and wanting to make something beautiful for others to enjoy. And the theme was the magic of coming together. So who knew? But they were doing such a good job of it. So yeah, you can see what all of the themes are. And then if you become a volunteer, I did go and interview some of the volunteers. They sign up and like June or July. And like I'd mentioned before, some of the volunteers say, oh, I don't mind height. I don't want height. I want to work on something low. Some volunteers say, I'll help with anything. So they might be the people at the ticketed area. They might be the people moving the people through the line. Or you can specifically say, I want to be a volunteer that helps create the floats. If you want to be a volunteer that helps build the floats from start to finish, then you want to more so work for one of the companies. If you want to be someone who helps with the floats for a day, that is also a possibility. I met many of them who go every year. They've been going for 4 or 5 years, I think, these 3 people that I talked to who are volunteers. And they are also Star Wars fans, and there is a Star Wars float. So they were able to actually request that they could work on the Star Wars float. So that was pretty cool that depending on the situation, and you can even choose what float you want to help with. So that sounded really cool. So after I finished going and looking at all of the floats, I just kind of walked around. I hadn't bought tickets for anything else. However, you can. So one of the great things, especially if you're from out of town, you'll want to look into the package deals. You can get a package deal that lets you go and tour the floats. You can also go and watch the Battle of the Bands, marching bands. You can also then go and watch the football game as well. And there's other packages as well. Like I had mentioned before, there's a 5K race, there's DJ parties, there's all sorts of stuff going on. While I was there to go to see the floats, across the street over at the RoseBowl Stadium was the Battle of the Bands. So after I finished touring the floats, I walked across the street and I was able to go and talk with a band from Indiana, Homewood, Indiana, and I also met another band from Wisconsin. They were taking pictures together. So there's high school bands from all over the United States, and they were doing some showdowns. It was day 2 of their Battle of the Bands. They were in their full regala, not only the marching band component, but also the dancers and the cheerleaders, right? So that was really cool to see. And they were also being fed. There's like tons of food trucks for everyone. They were being fed by In-N-Out and Habit and all that kind of stuff. And so then I was able to take pictures of the outside of the RoseBowl Stadium and some of the statues outside of the RoseBowl, and even the bricks where it has dedication bricks made by fans, right? And former people who, went to those schools that played at the RoseBowl game. So that was really cool to see. After that, I ended up getting a little bit of food from a food truck. You can pay with credit card or Venmo or cash. And then I decided to get out of there. But if you're from out of town, you could cross your way over and go to like Griffith Observatory. That's only a 35-minute drive from that area. So especially like the couple I met from Colorado, if you're doing an Uber, I would definitely not go straight back to the hotel. Use that time to stay out and map your way slowly back west, hitting different focal points along the way. But yeah, so tomorrow is the judging of the floats, so I might go back to watch that so that I can see the floats in their full glory and smell them and look at them and maybe touch them, I don't know. And then after January 1st, you can go back and look at the floats up close again for 3 more days. There is a certain amount of time early morning that is for disabled and elderly, from 7 until 9 a.m. And then the rest of the day from 9 a.m. to 5 o'clock, anyone can go. And that's the 3 days after the parade happens. On the 1st, when the parade is going on Colorado Boulevard, I heard from some volunteers that going on the south side of Colorado Boulevard is the best area because you can see a majority of the floats, and that if you go toward the end of the parade line, not every float makes it there. So it'd be best to stay at the beginning near the news media stations. Because there is tell of rain happening, some people are already selling their tickets. So there's grandstand seats that you can have, or you can stand or bring a chair and watch the parade. If you do sit in a grandstand seat and there is rain and lightning, the lightning will make the parade cancel because I don't want people sitting on metal with lightning, but I'm thinking that's not the case. I'm thinking it will be fine. So I hope I helped you understand some of the Rose Bowl Parade traditions, and if you are ever wanting to see these beautiful floats, now you have some tips and tricks of how to do so. All right, well, check out my reels and pictures on YouTube and also my Instagram channel from my experience of seeing the rose floats, and next year I'll go and volunteer. So if you're interested, let's go do it together. Let's go hang out with some roses. They might not be from Ecuador. Where will they be from? I don't know, but I know they'll be beautiful. All right, until next time, I'll see you then. Take care and have a great day.